FABSCRAP is a new nonprofit we just launched last year, and it's an organization that picks up textile waste from businesses in New York City. So we're working with fashion designers and interior designers, some costume and set designers in the entertainment industry. And we're recycling their textile waste either by shredding it into insulation or making available for reuse, so that students, artists, crafters, other designers can incorporate reused and green sustainable fabrics in their creations. The fabric for volunteers is free. If someone, so we have volunteers who help us sort it for recycling, and in exchange for helping us sort, we give away as much fabric as possible. If someone can't volunteer to help, then it's for sale by the pound. Mm-hmm. And hopefully that's way below retail. The point is that we want it to be reused. And our operations are covered by the service fee for pickup. So the recycling that's happening is a service for the industry. And so that service fee covers our operations, and it's also the tax-deductible donation for the companies that participate. So prior to starting FABSCRAP, I worked at the Department of Sanitation in New York City, and I was running the city's clothing recycling program. And a lot of designers were contacting me through that program to recycle their pre-consumer textile waste, and it wasn't really the right fit. What we were collecting in that program was all residential. It wasn't commercial waste. And so residential stuff is like shirts and pants and shoes and handbags. And that's stuff that most nonprofits will take. They take it for free and then hope to resell it in their thrift stores. It doesn't really fit into their model to take rolls of fabric or fabric samples or mock-up garments that they can't resell. Mm-hmm. And so the designers who wanted to recycle this material were kind of left in limbo. There wasn't really anything for them to do. And for me, that was just a little heartbreaking, because you want to know that the industry has individuals who care and that they're looking for solutions and looking to be more sustainable. So I pulled all of those individuals who had reached out to me into a working group, and we started quantifying what was the type of waste, what was the volume, how often was it produced, in what form was it, like was it scraps, was it rolls, and that information and those individuals sort of snowballed and eventually became FABSCRAP. And so I think that was definitely the inspiration, was like seeing that there was an industry need. And I think the motivation, comes from problem solving. I saw this as a problem. The infrastructure wasn't there to solve it. And so building that infrastructure was really motivating. And then just the support that I've gotten from the industry. I was very nervous because fashion sort of has that stereotype of being very exclusive and a little catty. But not having come from a fashion background and having worked in waste management, I've just found people to be so supportive and really encouraging and quick to offer resources and connections and help. I think because I've tapped into a need, into something that's wanted and that people see value in and believe in. And so the support of everyone that I've worked with is super motivating. I think for me, I take sustainable fashion in the terms of like resource use and resource recovery and sort of closing the loop on production. And so for me, sustainable fashion would be something that at its design, at its like very birth, is incorporating ways for it to be recycled or reused entirely when it's done being used. And sort of that full thought process would be the most sustainable. There's lots of technologies and I guess processes that need to be developed to make that possible, but those are starting to be researched and studied. I also, so like for me, it's resource recovery and resource use and not using virgin materials when possible and recovering and recycling fibers. But that being said, I think the human element of fashion and the human element of sustainability is so important and can't really be like ignored or isolated from all of this. I think sustainable fashion is one that like respects the makers, values the person who wears it, and then is also valued by the wearer. So it can't just like, it has to be good for the person who's wearing it, but the person wearing it also has to treat it well and use it well and dispose of it well. It's actually not as long and as involved as you might think. The designers and the brands that we work with, we give them empty reusable bags. The bags hold about 50 pounds of material, and they can have as many bags as they need. And then when they fill the bags, they call me and schedule a pickup. And so we'll come by, we'll pick up the fabric, and we take it to our warehouse in Jamaica, Queens. And then from there, it's sorted. It's sorted first to remove anything that can't be recycled. So we're removing staples, the cardboard and paper headers on the fabric samples. We're removing buttons and clips, any straight pins or safety pins, stickers, tape. We're basically removing anything that isn't fabric. Paper, of course, gets recycled. We're keeping all the straight pins for reuse. There's very little that like goes to landfill. And then once it's in the fabric form, we're sorting by the fiber content. So the most important thing that we're looking for is spandex or lycra or elastane, because that can't be shredded into insulation. So spandex is a unique fiber that when it's pulled repeatedly, it's not going to pull the fibers apart. It's actually just going to melt the fibers, and it messes up the whole machinery and process for shredding. So we have to remove anything with spandex or lycra or elastane. The other things that we're sorting for are 100% cotton, 100% poly, and 100% wool. And that's just because all three of those have emerging technologies that could potentially make new fabric from those fibers. So completely fiber to fiber recycled. And everything else, all the other blends, are what's shredded and becomes insulation. And so we're really just looking for the spandex, looking for those 100% fiber fabrics, and everything else potentially could become insulation. The other half of that is that if something's big enough to be reused, and we usually say if it's like about a yard, then we will keep it and save it, and that's what's available for shoppers, for volunteers, for online purchase, because we want as much as possible for the material to be reused and not shredded. Like in the hierarchy of sustainability, reuse is much better than it would be to downcycle or shred something. Right now, there's like the same way that I'm a service and there's a service fee for me to pick up the material. The shredding is a service that I pay for. Not much, it's a few cents a pound, but part of that is part of the operational cost. And this all just came from lots and lots of research on what's available for different commodities and how does a textile commodity move through a system of reuse and resale, and what are its options for upcycling and downcycling and at what volumes. The fiber-to-fiber technologies, again, that's just a lot of research and sort of reaching out to companies that are developing these new technologies and offering a clean stream of material to help. So that's all still being developed and happening on the back end while we're doing the sorting and collecting now.